To be fair, a lot of the music that I'm into, a lot of the artists are quite heavily tattooed, been punk and ska, but I would say that's probably where my interest stemmed from.
I've got an older brother, and he's 17 years older than me, so as a kid he was going and getting them when he was old enough, and he got some really rubbish ones.
I've always been a metal fan, so watching bands like Slayer, especially Kerry King in Slayer, covered head to foot in tattoos, I thought that looks pretty good. I would like some of those.
I always wanted to get a tattoo, so I went to Taunton, to a little tiny tattooist in Taunton, and I just picked a random tattoo. Basically it's a devil, because I'm Welsh.
My first proper one was that one, which is HRK. It stands for Hard Rocking King, and it's got a jester's hat above it, because I'm a bit of a joker.
So that one, because basically when I was 16 I had long hair, dreads, loads of piercings, and was into black crows. So I thought, I know what, I'll go and get a picture of 2 crows on my arm. And 16 years later people are still thinking it's a Kiora birds. So
I had a rose here in '92 when I was working at Met Dave, and we had one each. It's like a romantic thing.
I kind of had this great big fancy thing in mind, and then went to the tattoo studio, and the guy was like, yeah, that's going to cost like a couple £100, and I was like, okay, right, I'm going to go for this thing then.
First tattoo was the one on the top of my arm, and it's off the back, one of the back covers of Rancid's record samplers. Basically me being obnoxious.
When I had it done, I actually felt elated. I actually went out to get drunk and celebrate as well.
It's got the word peace underneath it. On the flash it said worship, but I thought that was a little too religious. And then I got a cat here on my lower back, because I've always wanted one there. Because someone said it's really agonising, but I still fell asleep.
I've got my checkered band, which is a 2-tone reference, which is an anti-racist statement. The star on my hand is just basic whimsy.
I've got a girl's name there above that one, which was done a few years after. That was my friend Vrikra's girlfriend. She died of meningitis, so a load of us, 10 of us went out and got the tattoo done at the same time. At the time it meant a lot, now it means nothing because I haven't seen Vrikra for about 8 years, so I've just got a dead person's name on my arm now. So
Then I progressed to that one there, which is a scorpion. Then I went on to have a larger piece which is a kind of dragon design tattoo. Then finally I've got one on that leg, which is a devil.
I thought I'd try and think of something that was a little bit more unique and a little bit more interesting and had a little more resonance for me as well. So I decided to go for the Waratah, which is the state emblem for New South Wales.
The spiral on my elbow, I don't know if you've heard of something called the golden mean. It's a ratio that is deeply involved in spirals and the universe's DNA. It's basically the key to everything.
I've got a name on my chest as well, which is my ex's name. She's the mother of my kid, so at the time that seemed right. Then she slept with one of my best mates, so now I've just got a whore's name on my chest. So the whole names thing didn't really work for me. So
This one's not finished. It's going to be like a full sleeve of camouflage. And I've got Sergeant Stripes and Sergeant B. It's like a play on a nod to a band who've got a song called Sergeant D. And I thought it'd be funny to have Sergeant B tattooed on my arm. Not a lot of thought goes into my tattoos.
I've got a postcode on my arm. N17 is where I grew up in London, and it's also the postcode of my football club, which brings me on nicely to the one on my hand, which is the initials of my football club.
There's a group called Sublime, and they're an enormous influence on my life. And they always had a dog on stage with them, and it was a Dalmatian, and the Dalmatian works with black and white, and I've always tried to keep my tattoos black and white.
With tattoos, I primarily look for things like the tribal design, just like kind of black design, because I don't really like colour tattoos.
It wasn't always going to be N17, it was going to be like a bit bigger and different pattern to it. But when I got in there, I was bored of waiting, so I just wanted it over and done with. So I got that. The one on my hand, there wasn't a lot of thought process went into that. That was, right, it was just I walked in, wanted a tattoo, and decided that my hand would do.
I mean, with all my tattoos, I'm still happy with them. I wouldn't have changed any of them. I like what I've had done. I think that's the most important thing. I can't understand people who actually go into tattoo shops, go and peruse through all the pictures on the walls and go, I'll have that one, and point to a little cherub or a rose. You've got to pick something that means something to yourself, because then you're going to be happy with it in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the line.
It's going to be kind of like a memory arm with, not memory, sort of things that mean, like my family's, different members of my family's birth signs and stuff like that, and all really gay stuff.
Unfortunately, some people do still have certain associations with tattoos, and they're often quite negative, but that's something that I'm prepared to deal with.
Well, I do have 2 flowers at the moment, so I don't think they're like aggressive tattoos, but even when I've had them uncovered, people just, with, like I say, people with no tattoos just don't seem to notice, and people with them just go, that's nice.
You know, you get introduced to people's friends or whatever, and you shake their hand and they see that straight away, people are just going to think, right, and just label you straight away as a football nut. So.
Me personally, I think the short shaven head and beard probably do just as much as any tattoo, so it doesn't really, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I think people would expect it from the way I look anyway. Yeah.
And occasionally people will come up to me and say, oh, I really like your tattoo there, which I think is more of a positive thing than a negative thing. I don't think I've ever been had a negative view of me because of my tattoos. I don't think so anyways.